Thank you, everyone. My name is Ron Koleski. I'm the Chief Prevention Officer for the Prevention Division of the Ministry of Labor, Training and Skills Development. And thank you for the opportunity to present today on Ontario's Safe Employer Program. The Prevention Division is responsible for the establishment of the Provincial Occupational Health and Safety Strategy and the development of province-wide training and safety standards, and working with Ontario's health and safety associations and partners to establish an effective delivery of the prevention system across Ontario. Prevention also supports the Chief Prevention Officer in providing the Minister of Labour, Training and Skills Development with a report on the performance of Ontario's occupational health and safety system, as well as we produce a 5-year occupational health and safety strategy for the province. The program that I'm going to speak to you today about is called Supporting Ontario's Safe Employer Program. Just to give you an example, what we're going to talk about is just a bit about the background of SOSI. What is the Occupational Health and Safety Management System that we refer to? What are the outcomes of an implemented Occupational Health and Safety Management System? How SOSI relates to Health and Safety Management System? The timelines for application, and what is the Chief Prevention Officer's employer recognition application process, the verification process, and a bit on incentives for employers and some of the contact information that we're going to provide. So just as background, in 2009, there was a tragic incident that occurred on Christmas Eve, and that resulted in an expert panel that made 43 recommendations to the government regarding Ontario's health and safety system. One of them included the actual creation of the Chief Prevention Office and the Chief Prevention Officer position. It also recommended that the province should undertake what they referred to as an accreditation program that recognizes employers who actually successfully implement a health and safety management system. This was recommendation 23 of the Metron swings change collapse that resulted in the panel being established and that series of recommendations occurring. So in 2016, OSHA, the Occupational Health and Safety Act, was amended to provide the Chief Prevention Officer with the authority to establish standards, accredit occupational health and safety management systems, recognize those employers that successfully implemented an accredited occupational health and safety management system, and publicize the names of recognized employers. In addition, one of the things we were trying to do as a system was to get away from employers thinking that if they took a course, they were safe. We realized that health and safety management systems are an integrated process that involves employees, it involves procedures, measures designed to be implemented by employers to promote continuous improvement in occupational health and safety. And there were a number of programs across the country and actually globally that have been established that deal with occupational health and safety management system, one being ISO, the other being CSA. In the construction industry, about 10 years ago, they established what was called the Certificate of Recognition. These programs were all designed to help employers create a management system that would focus on health and safety. And where this is leading to is, for many years, governments tried to enforce health and safety measures within employers and business, and it hasn't really been all that successful. So by recognizing those that are good actors and those that implement health and safety management systems, we are now approaching those large employers and buyers of services to include in their bidding process that their supply chain also start looking at becoming better at health and safety. And we've had a lot of success in the construction industry where organizations such as Infrastructure Ontario, City of Toronto, the Toronto Transit Commission, and a host of other buyers of construction have actually incorporated in their bid process the requirement to demonstrate your health and safety record, and in some cases to include your certification in having a health and safety management system. This slide, actually, this is really what the outcomes of a health and safety management system are. And that includes obviously lower worker compensation premiums, more business opportunities through an improved reputation, lower rates for lost time injuries, more participation in health and safety at all levels of the organization, higher morale and employee retention, and certainly improved health and safety environments. And it's really important to note that studies have started to show that the investment in health and safety can realize a pretty significant return on the bottom line. And it's interesting, depending on the government, some governments approach people and say, look, it's your moral obligation to ensure that workers are safe and employees are able to go home at night to their families. There's other ways of looking at it as well, that not only is it important to keep employees safe, but it also impacts your bottom line the more safer your organization is. To become recognized as an employer, you must first implement an accredited occupational health and safety management system. So right now, the current Chief Prevention Officer accredited occupational health and safety management system includes ISO 45001, 2018, the Occupational Health and Safety Management System Requirements with Guidance for Use, the CSA 5001, 19, Occupational Health and Safety Management System, the BS Occupational Health and Safety Management System in 2007, 18,001, and what we call the IHSA Core 2020 in Ontario. So the certificate of recognition is recognized in a number of provinces across the country. However, only in Ontario have we updated the core health and safety management system to be the equivalent of ISO 45001. So some jurisdictions such as Alberta, if you have ISO 45001, that will automatically get you core accreditation. However, in Ontario, that's not the case, so we upgraded the core system. Now, we also know that there are a number of other industry accredited systems out there. And we're currently working with a number of organizations. So the chemical industry's excellence of care, we're in discussions about having their program recognized. We're meeting with the Canadian Vehicle Manufacturers Association. They have an accredited standard. And I'm sure others, certainly oil and gas, have a quite robust health and safety expectation out there. So we would also be willing to work with them. There's also other options available to employers. If you go on our website, you can actually download the criteria for the CPO standard, which is equivalent to any one that's shown on the screen here. But let's say you have your own proprietary system. That is a system that you've worked on internally, and you feel that it's equal to or better than any of the ones that we've listed. You do have the opportunity to apply to have your own personal system accredited. And once we accredit it, if you have a third-party audit to ensure that the system is actually in place, then we will recognize you as well. So key timelines. So we announced this program jointly with the WSIB, and I'll get into that in a minute, on November 22nd, 2019. And we had great plans to have this all up and running by March of 2020, but we know that COVID kind of got in the way. However, we put all the applications and all the processes in place by July, and we applications for governing body of auditors for the Chief Prevention Office employer recognition criteria as it relates to third-party audits was opened on December 4th. So the recognition criteria body was expanded to include the certificate bodies that have been certified ISO 1721 standard this past January. And we've recognized the first, the first 3 organizations were recognized at the end of April. Largely, we were all set to go, but the challenge that we had was of course, COVID. So to get recognized, there is an application process. So if you've implemented an accredited occupational health and safety management system, and you've had a third-party audit, which you've arranged, and you can see the criteria for the lead audit status. You submit an application within 12 months of the audit, the successful completion of that audit. We will do an application review and criteria check. We will then recognize the employer, and then we will provide incentives that are under my jurisdiction are non-financial, but I'll explain the financial assistance through WSIB in an upcoming slide. So essentially what you do is if you have any one of ISO, CSA, or CORE 2020, you have a third-party audit. That third-party audit is deemed successful and you've fully completed all of the expectations, then just submit the application. It's a very simple application form you can find on the website, and then we will review your standing under OSHA and make a determination regarding the recognition. So the verification process, we will look at your lead auditor status to make sure that it is in fact a recognized lead auditor that undertook your process. We will check under the Ontario Labour Relations Board that under Section 50, there's no decisions of reprisal that have made against employees over the past 3 years. We will look at your joint health and safety status and the fact that you have no outstanding orders within the past 3 years. We will look at you from a legal perspective that there are no Part 3 convictions pending or any Part 3 unresolved prosecutions in the past 3 years. And then the CPO employer recognition, we will not only recognize you if you've passed OSHA, we will also hand your application over to the WSIB, and the WSIB will review your status under the Workplace Safety and Insurance Act, or WSIA. And if there are no outstanding claims against WSIA for the past 3 years, you will be eligible for the financial incentives. So what do you get from the employer recognition being recognized by the Chief Prevention Officer? Well, you get a sticker. Great. You get a plaque and recognition criteria from not only myself, but also the minister. It is a 3-year recognition. You simply have to attest on an annual basis that you're maintaining your requirements. We will list you as a recognized employer on our website. You will have branding opportunities that you can put on your letterhead, your vehicles, your physical person if you want. And we then take a risk-based approach to enforcement with all these employers, meaning that if you've taken the time to implement a health and safety management system, and we know that you have done so, then that is taken into consideration by our inspectors when we're doing random inspections or targeted inspections in certain industry. So there are some opportunities available there. In terms of the next step that we take, once you've got the employer recognition from the Ministry of Labour Training and Skills Development, we do pass that on to the WSIB. And for large employers, the rebates can be fairly substantial. So for example, for a company that employs 300 people, and they have fully and 100% of their operation has been deemed to be under an ISO or a CSA accredited program, you would be eligible for about $115,000 over 3 years in terms of rebates. And it would start off larger, like about 65,000, second year, 35,000, third year, 25,000, just as an example. For employers with likely over 1,000 workers, you would be looking at rebates in the neighborhood of $300,000 to $400,000 over the 3 years. The other thing that we did is we've worked in partnership with the WSIB, and any corporation that is working towards a health and safety management system may be able to do so through the WSIB's Health and Safety Excellence Program, which is a program that's designed as a pathway to accreditation. So you can take up to 5 courses that align with your health and safety management system per year, 5 modules, if you will. And depending on your WSIB premiums, you can receive up to $1,000 per module to a maximum of $5,000 on an annual basis. And what we've tried to do as an organization is we've integrated the fact that you can take the core program in construction and then apply for accreditation. While you're taking the core program, you can also take modules from the Health and Safety Excellence Program and receive rebates back where you're trying to achieve a certain level of accreditation level in your health and safety management system. So we've worked very hard to integrate all of these programs. For the oil and gas industry, if you're interested in us reviewing your existing health and safety management system, we'd be very happy to do so. And you can contact us through this email. And if you have questions or you wish to apply for those of your members that are already ISO approved, but we'd like to review anything with you regarding your own program and see whether or not that meets the requirements of the CPO standard. And in that way, when your members achieve the level of accreditation you require, they automatically can apply for recognition. So thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity to speak with you and look forward to any questions you may have.